calls it the chaos theories, right? And recently, there's a lot of it happening here in the U.S. We really loved what he had to say yesterday, and we're going to expand on it this morning.
Because it helps explain some of the motivation between stuff that seems haphazard and chaotic, but in the end actually serves a unified purpose. Let's talk about it. Let's go off the wall with some current examples. Let's first start with global warming and climate change. The ultimate tool, and this was revealed to me certainly during the pandemic, but the ultimate motivating tool, I think, for most of humanity is fear. Fear. Absolve me of my fear. Yep. And therefore, someone seeking power realizes if somebody is fearful, they'll hand over control.
Absolutely. Rahm Emanuel famously said, never let a crisis go to waste. So if you want to push climate schemes and more control, you have to peddle the idea that it is utter chaos throughout the world. And what a great example this week at the World Economic Forum, where all the elites gathered in their private jets in Davos, where Al Gore and John Kerry peddled that kind of fear. Watch.
Emissions are still going up. All these promises of the last few years to cut emissions are still going up. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs and causing these waves of climate refugees.
It's pretty extraordinary to sit in a room and come together and actually talk about saving the planet. I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial.
So these two clips back to back, I think, are fascinating. First of all, Al Gore, literally the fire and brimstone of a preacher preaching apocalypse.
Yes.
And then abutted there to John Kerry describing himself as an extraterrestrial in charge of saving the planet. Be fearful and I will save you. I just want to say this is how obvious it is as a tool and not true belief. These guys flew in G5s. They flew in G5s to Davos to talk about this. They own homes on the ocean.
Hundreds of millions of dollars he's worth.
If they're worried about boiling oceans, why are they buying beachfront property?
That's where Obama bought beachfront property, right there, if they're worried about rising oceans. But they tell you, eat less meat. They tell you, have a lower carbon footprint. They tell you, buy a different car. And they get rich in the process. And does your life get any better as China emits as much as it likes to? No, that's the answer. But it's chaos that benefits them. Let's talk about some more chaos that was front and center in our political sphere, mostly in 2020, but in Atlanta just last night. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, left-wing radical groups taking to violence on the streets in the hopes, and oftentimes that fear leads to extortion. It's if you don't do what we want, more of this will happen.
Okay, now I think this one is tied to what Bongino was talking about as well, when the fear is often personified by those who disagree with you. There's a reason that you should be fearful, and it's because of those people who believe differently than you. When it comes to Antifa and BLM, the enemy is made clear. It is the racist. It is the bad person, not the bad idea, the bad person on the other side of you that must be controlled.
Yes, that must be controlled. And in the case of this, it was the police officers who needed to be reined in and defunded. I mean, think about how quickly we went from defund the police being this radical idea that seemed on the fringe to the point where major metropolitan city councils were pushing to defund police departments. And then you get more of this.
Chaos.
Chaos.
More chaos. How about this? If the ideological opponent is the bad person, if they're the science denier, if they're the racist, what about when they're actually infectious? Those who disagree with you are so bad, they can infect you.
And they don't even know it. They will kill you unless you, based on very limited information and science that we won't reveal to you, you must take the jab. So COVID's a great example. In fact, that's a lot of what Dan was talking about yesterday. Here's Joe Biden, Anthony Fauci, Rochelle Walensky on vaccines and masks as a reminder.
We're here with a simple message. Get vaccinated. And if you're fully vaccinated, get one more COVID shot.
People are vaccinated. They can feel safe that they are not going to get infected. I want to make sure people keep their masks on. I think the idea of taking masks off, in my mind, is really not something we should even be considering.
We do encourage all Americans to wear a well-fitting mask, and that recommendation is not going to change.
It was maximum fear, Will.
So, yeah, be fearful. The zombies, those who are racist, those who are infectious, those who deny science are somewhere outside the walls. So lock yourself in the ideological prison, and we as the wardens will help you control, will give you safety. It's the chaos that leads to power, which leads to control, which leads to their self-justification. It really is a tool that weaves its way through, I think, every news item.
All the while you are told that you're crazy or you're dangerous for not trusting the science that they won't reveal. And the misinformants in the midst of all of that, who are canceled or kicked off of social media, later on confirmed to be correct, but already told that they're insane.
Yeah.
Or blocked and pushed out of the conversation to begin with. They want chaos so they can get control.